are you spiritually disciplined? Now, when I deal with this concept, I'm not pushing a religion on you, so please don't think I'm doing that. But what I am here to tell you is when we deal with ethical leadership, ethical leaders are individuals that have a set of spiritual disciplines or values that enable them to make an impact and to make the right decisions. And that's when you deal with ethical leaders, when you deal with leaders that do the right thing, there's always a set of some spiritual discipline or values that they actually apply. In essence, maybe it's integrity. Maybe it's generosity. Maybe it's the power of speaking positive words. Maybe it's the power of positive thinking. Maybe it's a prayer life. Maybe it's fasting like Gandhi. Maybe it's service. Maybe it's compassion. Maybe it's love. I don't know, but what I do know is when you think about ethical leaders and you think about leaders that get extraordinary results, you will discover that behind that power, someone say power, behind that impact, there was a set of spiritual disciplines and values. I'll give you an example. Franklin D. Roosevelt says, and I quote, he said, physical strength can never permanently withstand the impact of spiritual force. He said his strength comes from a spiritual force. The Dalai Lama says, and I quote, unless we possess high spiritual qualifications, there is no doubt that the events life throws upon us will give rise to frustration, emotional turmoil, and other distorted state of consciousness. Oprah, anybody like Oprah? Oprah says, it isn't until you come to a spiritual understanding of who you are, not necessarily a religious feeling, but deep down, the spirit within, that you begin to take control. Dr. King, if we're going to go forward, we must go back and rediscover those precious what? Values. That our reality hinges on moral foundations and that all reality has spiritual control. And then Gandhi, faith is not something to grasp, it's something that we must all grow into. So Gandhi really puts it really good. He says this whole aspect of spirituality and spiritual disciplines and values is not something that you just hear about. It's something that you grow into. And they all want us to understand through their quote that these disciplines and these set of values is the force that enables us to make an extraordinary impact as an ethical leader. See, there's some spiritual disciplines and some spiritual principles that we don't always hear about that if you get a hold of can enable you to make an incredible impact. When we think about world leaders, when we think about people that have changed the face of culture and society, or even within our campuses or even within our families, I have found that a lot of the times there's some sense of spiritual discipline or values that enable them to do amazing things. Are y'all still here? And a great example of this concept is one of the things that we do each year is called the Circle of Change Leadership Conference. Someone say Circle of Change. It's a Circle of Change Leadership Conference, and we do this conference each year, and the purpose of it is really to help students to obtain career leadership success. And so one of the things we do is not only do we have electrifying speakers and incredible workshops, but we have panels with executives from VH1, from Pepsi. We have the California Assemblymen. We have the CEO, president of LA Sparks, and a variety of other executives that actually sit on panels to give you the access, to give you the connections, and to give you the wisdom that you may not get in school, but you're actually going to need once you graduate. So this is the conference. And in the first year, I'll never forget, we had a month before the conference, and I only had 7 people register with about a $20,000 budget. Troy, you probably can understand what that feels like. I don't know. A lot of money to spend, not trying to figure out where I'm going to get the money from. And I'm sitting here, and I'm freaking out. And I remember my friend called me up, and I said, listen here, man, I'm either going to live or die by faith, but I'm going for it. And so from that point on, I began to activate my spiritual disciplines. Someone say spiritual disciplines. I begin to activate it, man. I begin to think positive. I begin to speak positive. I begin to pray. I begin to fast. I begin to do everything that I knew to do to produce some results. Well, what I learned is in this 30-day span, we went from 7 to about 125 students. And in that span, I actually obtained a $10,000 grant. And it was the only grant I've ever applied for. And I actually applied for the grant last minute, but I ended up getting it, which enabled us to fund the conference. So I saw the power of my spiritual disciplines and values actually at work. But it gets better. Because remember, as a leader, it's not about you, it's about others, right? So what I saw is I saw students' lives impacted. I saw students' lives transformed. I saw people bawling in tears. I saw people leave the conference and end up getting internships for own Oprah Winfrey show. I saw people leave and end up interning at the White House. I saw people just having incredible transformation experiences. And now we are going into our 6th year, and we've been able to meet our financial needs every year. But again, it's because we learned the spiritual disciplines and values that were necessary in order to make this vision a reality. At our conference, 91% of people said their life was changed because of the conference. We actually won Spotlight Series Program of the Year. But again, none of this would have happened if at that moment when there was only 7 people, I knew what to do in order to get the results. And see, some of you are in a leadership position, you're going to get to that point. And you're going to be ready to throw in the towel, and you're going to be ready to give up, and it's going to get real, real tough. And it's in that moment, if you know the right disciplines and the right values to use, it'll give you the power and the strength not only to overcome, but again, most importantly, to make an impact. Someone say impact.